Clearly, this is a decisive victory here for Prime Minister Abe. Just spell out what you think his top priorities are now, domestically but also internationally.
So he definitely wants to use the victory to kind of put additional momentum behind his effort to revise the Constitution, although that's still a very, very controversial policy item, something that he has close to his heart, but that remains quite unpopular. So we'll see him accelerate the progress that they're making in kind of putting the plans together for that, but he's going to have to take kind of a soft approach. On the economy, more Abenomics, more monetary easing, more fiscal spending. The structural reforms are probably going to be relatively slow as they have been for the past few years. And then on the international front, he's got President Trump coming in at the beginning of November, and that's going to be a very, very big summit for him.
Scott, on the Abenomics, obviously the package of monetary easing, fiscal easing, structural reform, various aspects of that have been in place now for several years. Is there anything that's going to change other than, or is it just more of a continuation of the status quo? In other words, are there trajectories that are going to be accelerated or anything different to watch for in this new term?
So on the labor reform side, they have been kind of dragging their feet on that for a number of years. It's an issue that always has strong voices on either side of it. But he has talked about wanting to now move forward and try to loosen up the labor market, make it a little easier for people to move from job to job. And introduce some needed flexibility in what has been normally a pretty rigid workforce. But honestly, I think that most people see this election as just a confirmation that we're going to see a lot more of what we've seen over the past 4 years.
Does that mean we're going to see yet another delay of this consumption tax hike? Because that was one of his key campaign pledges, which I don't quite understand because it doesn't mesh very well with Abenomics, this idea of fiscal spending and easy monetary policy.
Right. Yeah, I would love to be able to look into the crystal ball and know if he's going to actually follow through on that pledge. Obviously, we've had 2 times in the past where he's decided to postpone it. Arguing that the economy is not strong enough to withstand that type of shock. And it is slightly unusual because he's been talking about fiscal spending and the tax revenue normally for a consumption tax has been planned to go into paying off the debt, but he's talked more recently about maybe siphoning off some of that money and putting it in other places, boosting child care and welfare programs. So that's probably the way that he's going to get a little more popular support behind the idea.